you're going to be doing for your lit circles, and it's basically broken down into each week you're performing a different role. And I'll explain like what number you're going to be doing and etc. But basically, if you're in a group of 4, you're going to do one role, the person behind you is going to do the next role, etc. And then each week, you'll move down and you'll do the next one, etc. So you're not doing the same role each week, etc. So, lit circles. Yay. The first role is a discussion director. So for this role, you complete and you come up with 10 questions. And then you also write a paragraph summary of what happened in those chapters. And then your main task is to keep everybody on task in your group. Because I know when teenagers get together, all of a sudden you're talking about the book, and then somebody's like, oh, did you see the shoes in that? And then you just like go on a tangent. So keep everybody on task. Here's an example. This is only of 3 questions, because I obviously can't fit everything on here, of a student that did this last year. So they had to write 10 questions. The first one is, how will Mark communicate with Earth? Or will he be able to produce enough food to survive? These are more open-ended questions, and you just like making a guess. Like, you know what, I think Mark will be able to communicate by doing X, Y, and Z. It doesn't have to be specific questions. It's more so just general things that you maybe thought of or that might occur later in the book. Questions about discussion director? All right, next up is literary luminary. So this person's job is to find 10 key lines, quotes, and details from that text. When I say text, I mean that specific section of the reading. So you're finding 10 quotes that you thought were funny, interesting, cool, weird, whatever. And then on top of that, you are finding 3 examples of figurative language in the reading. What's figurative language? Yeah, simile, metaphor, imagery, personification. Is there, like if you're reading The Martian, and they're like, yeah, the planet was red and dusty. That's figurative language because at least it's giving us detail about what's happening in that section. This third one is not something you have to necessarily like do again. It's more so just like if you're the literary luminary for that week, you want to make sure you're reading closely, because if somebody has a question that's like, I don't know if that happened in that section, you should be the one to know that. This is just an example. The key thing I want to point out here is, so this person included a quote, and then here they identified the chapter. Why is this different than how we would typically do an in-text citation? Yes, we already know what book it's from, and I'm asking you to identify the chapter instead of the page number. Why do you think I'm having you do that instead of page number?
Because we're not going by pages, we're going by chapters.
Yeah, and we're not going by pages, we're going by chapters, and if you're reading the EPUB, the pages are different for everybody. It's just because it depends on your size preference for the text and etc. This just makes it clear this is what chapter it's from. If I don't see this, you will lose points, so just make sure you are including that. Next up is the illustrator. So this is probably by far my favorite job because I am the worst illustrator. So it's always interesting to see what kids come up with. So let me put it this way. I'm not expecting you to be an artist overnight. However, I am expecting to understand at least vaguely what's going on. So if you look at this one, this person read The Martian. So you can kind of see they're like focusing on the red planet. You can see Earth in the background. And then you can actually read the descriptions. But there's like the door blown off, and then there's other bits of stuff where he's things that happened. So it's small, it's not super detailed, but at least it gets the point across. Once you recreate a scene, I want like 4 to 5 sentences telling me what's in this scene. So I can open it and say, okay, yeah, that definitely happened in the book. Here was their interpretation of it. When it comes to the illustrator, obviously, if you're at home and you're the illustrator, you have to use what resources you have. If you're here, I'm going to give you a sheet of paper and Hopefully you have a pen or pencil. If you have colored pencils, use them. But the only other thing I want to note about the Illustrator, you have 20 minutes to get a picture and paragraph done. This is not something that you are spending 15 hours on. It's like, it's due that class period. Do your best. I'm not an artist, so I'm not looking for a lot here. I just want to be able to see that I know what's going on, okay? Does that kind of make sense? Okay, cool. The last role is the connector. So the connector's job is to make 5 connections from text to text, text to world, or text to self. And that's just, it could be anything. So if I'm making a text connection to another book, at the end I'm just going to write text to text and then identify what book and why it's similar. Or for this one, it's text to world, how is it making that connection and why. Not a whole lot written here, but you want to make sure that you're thinking critically about what you just read and not just like in general. Like obviously if you're reading The Martian, great, we already know we have NASA. Think deeper. Okay, questions about any of those roles? Great. Went over that. So grading. Before class, complete your reading. During class, complete your role for the week. After class, grade is given for the assignment. I know, it's like, what? That's crazy. The important thing, I already mentioned this, if you're reading on a book or you're reading on a Kindle or EPUB, the pages are different. Don't put the page number, put the chapter. Cool? Awesome. Both things that are going to be linked, this is the worksheet that you guys are going to put everything on. All of the weeks are on here, and we're doing this for 5 weeks. So what you will do is this will show up tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll be able to make a copy, except for Sammy, and I'm going to give it to her today. Here you'll put in the chapters read. In this box you put what role you are. So Merrick is tomorrow's discussion director, so he's going to put discussion director. And then he's going to fill in his 10 questions and summary. Is that kind of, you with me? Okay. Awesome sauce. All of this, including the groups with the numbers, can be found under Lit Circle groups.